Thanks for tuning in to Chats with Your Self-Worth BFF. This is your host, Mikaela Filar, where we are here to skyrocket your self-worth, heal your shit, and take your power back. Welcome to the chat. Hey guys, welcome back to Chats with Your Self-Worth BFF. It's your host, Mikaela Filar. Today, I've decided to release the first half of the free intuition activation masterclass that I did yesterday. It was so good, so much fun. I'm excited for you guys to get your hands on it. I did leave out, however, I taught the class how to do yes and no techniques using their intuition. And I left that out. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and at the end of this podcast episode, click the link in the show notes below. There's going to be a link to sign up to get the recording with a full 1 hour class sent directly to your email. All right. So that you can learn your intuitive yes and no techniques. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely check out the show notes below. With all that being said, let's get into it. So sorry about that. Started without recording. Welcome to Intuition Masterclass. This is a sneak peek of what is going to be inside of Awaken, my 8-week intuition training camp. So if you don't know this, hi, I'm Mikaela. I'm an intuitive energetic healer and psychic medium. I have been honing in on my intuition for about 2 years now. I already gave this spiel, so I'll just keep going so I don't repeat myself for the people who are here live. I was chatting about how I first knew that I was intuitive or had gifts. I was actually like in my teens, and a lot of my childhood, I don't really remember that much. It's very which is totally normal for healers to have kind of a childhood that they don't really remember because it wasn't great, right? But what I'm getting at here is, so in my teens, when I started to really hone in or know that I had something special, was my mom was, I'm going to kind of give you a little personal story here. My mom she was dating this guy, and I never had a good feeling about this guy. I always thought oh my gosh, I hate this guy. He gives me bad vibes. He gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like this guy. And it was Valentine's Day, and she was getting ready for date. He was going to take her out on a date for Valentine's Day. And I was like, Mom, this man is going to ask you to marry him. And I need you to say no, because this is he is not it. I promise you, he is not it. And she looked at me and she's like, why? And I was like, well, I don't know why. I just know he's not it. I don't have an explanation for you. I feel like something's off with him. And she didn't fucking listen. Literally that night, he proposed to her, just like I said that he would. And she came home with a ring on her finger. And that was probably the most toxic, terrible relationship that she has ever been in. And I was also a teenager. So we were all living together, and he threatened to throw my head through a wall. So he was not he was not a nice guy. Okay. Should have listened to me. Right. And she learned her lesson after that. She started listening to me and my intuition after that. But yeah, so it was the first kind of story that happened to me that I can pinpoint of how I knew that I just knew things. I didn't have an explanation, and that's totally normal because intuition defies all logic, and it's just a matter of fact, right? So, and we'll get into what fear versus intuition is so that you guys can kind of get an idea of how to discern what is what. But what led me to starting a business out of this work is I had what we like to call a dark night of the soul moment when I was 29, turning 30. What that means is basically everything in my life just kind of blew the fuck up. And I felt like nothing was going right, and everything was just blowing up in my face. And a lot of times when you ask the universe for an expansion or to level up or to become better in general, or higher frequency, right? Or your life, you want more out of it. What's going to happen is your higher self is going to purge everything that cannot come with you to that next level, right? So basically that's what happened. And that is what we call a dark night of the soul. So everything was just exploding in my life. And I'll give you an example. First of all, I thought the world was ending when I was turning 30. I was I'm so behind in life, blah, blah, blah. It was this whole detrimental thing, which it's not that bad at all. It's not bad at all. It's great. I love being in my 30s. Anyways, I digress. So I thought that, and then I also got dumped by who I thought I was going to marry. I'm very happy that didn't happen. And I also, my business that I was currently in
in the past. Like I had a network marketing business in the past. I was the top 2% of the company. I was doing really well. And then all of a sudden, it just like blew up. Okay. So lost the majority of my income, didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. Like I was living with my ex at the time. So like he kicked me out. Like I didn't have anywhere to live. Like it was this whole thing. Like it was crazy. So all of that was happening. I was at probably the lowest possible, like I was like rock bottom is what you would call that. Homeless, rock bottom. Broke, homeless, rock bottom. So didn't know like what I was gonna do. And I'm scrolling, doom scrolling on TikTok one night. And I come across this girl and I'm like, oh my God, I need to listen. Like, I need to listen to this TikTok. She's talking, blah, blah, blah. I end up like having this intuitive pull, like just like you need to work with her. And so I ended up working with her in mentorship, taking her classes, like honing in on my intuition. And she's the one who taught me everything that I know. And so it basically I've been honing in and working with her off and on in different courses, classes, one-on-one mentorship to hone in on my intuition for about 2 years now. And intuition is just like a muscle. So you have to strengthen it in order to ask like the heavier questions. It's just like when you go to a gym. I have a background in fitness and health. So it's just like you'll hear me say a lot of gym analogies. When you go to the gym, you don't just like go to the gym and lift up pounds above your head, right? Like you have to work your way up to it, right? You start off with the fives and then the tens and then the 15s and so on and so forth. But you can't just go up and be like, bam. So we're not going to ask any life altering questions today, but I am going to teach you a yes and no technique so that you can feel in your body where your yes and no intuitive answers are. All right. But I digress. Just like going to the gym, you've got to like strengthen your muscles there. You got to work your way up to the heavier stuff. It's just like intuition. So think about like basketball players or like professional sports players, right? So they are masters at their sport and they have coaches who teach them and make sure that they like their skills are sharpened. So that's why it's so important to have a mentor. You're always needing a mentor if you are desiring to master anything, like having a mentor, having someone to coach you, having somebody to teach you new things and to level up in whatever field that you're desiring to level up in is so, so important. And that is why intuition and having a mentor is so important because it challenges you, it gets you outside of your comfort zone, and so, so much more. So I've taken my natural born gift, something that we all have, and I have been learning how to get answers down to an exact science. So what I mean, and by the way, like everyone is born with intuition, everyone is born with intuition. And if anyone says that you're not born with intuition or you're not able to tap in to your intuitive answers or that they think like they're better than you because they have this power and you don't, like, and they tell you that, like, just fucking run the other way. Run the other way, okay? No one is more or less special than anyone else. And that's not the type of person that you want mentoring you, anyways. So, an example of how I use my intuition to channel, like to get it down to a science, is I use it. This is actually something that I have been doing for a while now, but I have actually currently in a level, there's different levels to intuition. So, I'm on level 3 of intuition mastery. Currently, this is something I learned a couple years ago, but now I've learned like how to even get it more down to a science of like getting my dream physical body. Okay. And this is something that we're going to be doing inside of Awaken. So I use my intuition to channel an exact workout plan and diet for myself. And I'm asking my higher self. No one knows you better than your own higher self does, right? Like you can hire a coach, you can listen to all the Instagram or TikTok influencers that you want, but nobody knows you better than yourself, okay? So the fact is that I am stepping into my higher self field, and I'll get into the different fields that we are able to channel, but I step into my higher self field and I'm asking intuitive questions on, okay, so I need to work out in 4 times a and I need to stay, my heart rate needs to stay in zone 2 or 3, or okay, just zone 2 for 4 times a week. For how long? 40 minutes. Okay, great. Right. And there's these ways that I get the percentages down to an exact science. So it's given me incredible, incredible results to manifest my dream body, my dream physical body. So I also go and I also do the same thing with my diet too. So like this morning, for instance, I checked in on eggs and how eggs are like testing for me to be the best digestible for my gut health and to just like help me get to my fitness goals the quickest. And I got that it's actually a way lower percent. It was like less than 85%. Anything less than 85%, we want to see if there is something better that tests higher so that I can get to where I'm desiring to be at a faster rate. And that is what's so amazing about intuition is that you are able to test like anything 85%, 85, 86% higher is going to get you there a lot faster. And that is what allows you to quantum leap over what like to over your obstacles and then to whatever it is that you're desiring to create for yourself. Intuition is literally a life hack on how to manifest exactly what you are desiring to manifest in your life. And I'll get more into that as well too. But so you can do it with food, but by the end of today, we're going to be getting into how to read yourself and get your yes or no questions answered intuitively. Okay, so you don't need to be like you don't need to have crazy things happen to you in order to know that, like, if you have intuitive abilities or not. Most people don't even awaken to their intuitive abilities until they're adults. Some tall tell signs that you are highly intuitive are that you're very empathetic, right? Like, so you're very sensitive to people's energies. Everyone feels like super close or like super comfortable with you, I would say. Very like they just wanna throw up all of their stuff to you, right? They wanna, like, ask you for advice, and, like, for some reason, you always just give the best advice. That's because you're just connected, and you're just a very empathetic person. You can almost put yourself in their shoes, so that is one tall tale sign, and if you have any of these, type in the chat and let me know if any of these resonate. I'd love to know. So that is one. Two, movies. Any like movies you watch, you get super invested, you get super into, you can get really emotional. If it's sad, you're crying. If it's happy, you're laughing. And scary movies most likely are not your jam because you could just feel like the negative dark energy and you're just like not about that because you're super sensitive to that. And you can almost like put yourself in the situation. You're like, would you go down that road or whatever? You know what I'm saying? It's like you just get too into it and it's just not your vibe. I absolutely hate scary movies. Anyways, sensory overload is another big one. So like you're super sensitive to lights, you're super sensitive to loud noises, being around a lot of people. Like I used to get the most insane social anxiety where I would have to have like 2 or 3 drinks in order to feel quote unquote normal. And that is just because I didn't know how to protect my own energy. I didn't know how to take the energy that is mine and protect it and cut the cords. And that's also something that we're going to be teaching inside of Awaken as well. So, and I'll kind of get into that as well. But that is another tall tale sign if you have social anxiety. Sometimes super this might be something that I this is something that still happens to me like all the time. I'll be in a group of people or I'll even be like sitting it happened literally yesterday on the couch. My boyfriend and I were watching a movie and I looked at him and I was like, "You want to make popcorn?" And he was like, "I was just thinking that." And I'm like, "I know." That's because you're literally like thinking, you're reading their thoughts. It's telepathy. So telepathy is also something that we're going to be getting into inside of Awaken as well. It's super fun. But so if you're like in a group of people and someone says something or you say something and then somebody was like, "Oh my God, I was just thinking that," or like someone says something and then you were like just thinking that, it's because you guys are sharing thoughts. Okay. So another thing, if everyone could take their 2 fingers and put them on their wrist, and if you feel a pulse, that means you're intuitive. All right. If you have a pulse, if you're alive, like I said, everyone has intuition. Everyone has the power to tap into their intuition. Period. End of story. Okay. Some of us are more in tune to it than others, but that is only because when we're children, we aren't taught to listen to ourselves, right? Like we are taught to listen to whoever raised us slash our teachers. And so over the years, that voice or that feeling or whatever, however it is that you feel your intuition, it starts to fade away, it gets quieter and quieter. Has anyone here in this class here been like the person who stood out or asked questions or broke the rules or was loud in class or could never pay attention or always had their head up in the sky, right? Anybody in here? Because same. So like there's just another way that you know that you are tapped into your intuition, that you just are taking on the energy of everyone else around you, taking on thoughts of everyone else around you because you're just an empath. You're someone who's very sensitive to that energy. All right. So it'd be really amazing if intuition was something that was taught in school, right? If that were the case, like the fact is that we're not taught in school the tools that we need to master intuition and to use it to like benefit our lives, because the powers that be like don't want us to feel empowered, and they don't want us to learn how to hack the universe. And this work, it allows you to create the reality that you're desiring to create for yourself, and it makes you feel empowered. It makes you feel like you can do anything because you fucking can, and you're worthy of everything. And anything that you desire is a Latin root word. It means of the Father, meaning that anything that you desire is literally straight from source, right? Straight from source. So they wouldn't give you that desire if they didn't believe that you were able to achieve or obtain that desire, right? That would just be cruel. And source isn't cruel. Source, God, universe, whatever word best resonates with you, right? So that is why it is so like it's so empowering to learn intuition, but they don't like teach that. And it's also, this work is considered like woo woo, and in some cases like looked down upon, when in reality, if we were this stuff in school, no one would have a problem with it, and we would all be empowered, and the frequency of the planet would be a lot higher than it is, and our collective reality would look a lot different than it does today. A lot different. The more tapped into your intuition you are, the less swept away by the chaos you become. Like, the more you are rooted in your own truth, the less triggered you are by opposing viewpoints. And the more you know yourself, the more peace you'll retain when everyone else remains stuck in the chaos. My friend Danielle McCleary wrote this yesterday, and I was like, this is so freaking good. Like, I have to share this on my class tomorrow because it's so freaking true. But moving forward, like before I got a grip on honing in on my intuition, intuition had a grip on me. Like I said before, the social anxiety, the people's energy all over me. Like, I didn't know how to protect my energy. I didn't know how to cleanse and clear it. I didn't know how to cut the cords. I didn't know how to cut the energetic ties. I didn't know how to clear myself from dark forces. And because of that, like intuition had a grip on me, right? Like my gifts, like they were just, I just didn't know, right? And so you might be feeling the same, and that might be why your intuition led you here to this class today. If we are not learning how to clear our energy and cut cords, only 3% of our thoughts are actually our own, meaning that over 97% of your thoughts are not even yours. And we are energetic beings constantly exchanging energy, which is why it is so important to learn how to cleanse and clear and protect yourself, which is something that I will be teaching inside of Awaken. It's actually a recorded meditation that you're going to be getting on Wednesday when I drop that in the portal for you. So, how do we create our reality? Like, we literally know this, it's the universal law of reflections. How we think, feel, what we think, feel, and believe to be true about ourselves creates our outer reality. Our thoughts create our reality. So if we are not learning how to cleanse and clear and protect our energy and to get rid of the thoughts that are not ours, what do you think we're creating? Like, we're creating a reality that isn't even our own, right? And an example of this is like in 2021, at the end of 2021, I middle end, I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I was still I had struggled before learning this work with, a little side note, with anxiety and depression for the majority of my life. I was in therapy for the majority of my life, and learning intuition, learning how to tap into my intuitive abilities, like learning the energy work, learning how to protect myself, learning how to, instead of just being like, oh, I have ADHD or I have anxiety, right? And to take a pill for it. Instead of doing that, I was able to like learn the energy work and learn how to protect myself, learn how to take back the energy that's mine, give back the energy that isn't, rid myself of social anxiety and depression in general. I've been off my antidepressants for over a year now, which is so crazy to think, but that wouldn't be a possibility if it were not for this work, if it were not for me honing in on this work. But at the end of 2021, I was depressed. I was anxious. I was in my network marketing business that I was in, and I was just like not feeling fulfilled, not like super happy with what I was doing. And so what happened is I kind of like woke up and I was like, even at the relationship that I was in at the time, like I just knew like I was so out of alignment and like it just wasn't it for me. Like he wasn't a bad person. It was just like I just felt like everything was off in my life and I needed to make a change. And I just realized that like the reason that I was where I was in my life then was because the majority of the decisions that I had made were so heavily influenced by my friends, my family, the people who loved me, but they also gave me so much advice. I was also taking on all of their energy and what they thought. And so what they thought, I started to think. And then I just like had this awakening, right? It was like probably one of my first awakenings. And I just was like, oh my God, like I just need to get out. And I did, and it was one of the hardest things that I've ever done, but I did it and it propelled me into the next chapter of my life, which is then when I had the dark night of the soul. And then like things started to get a little better and now things are a lot better. So there's that. But the that is why it's so freaking important to like we don't realize how much the shit affects us. Period. Like we do not realize it. People do not realize it because they just like want to turn a blind eye or they want to be stuck in their victim matrix and think that they have no control over their reality and like it's all in God's hands, which it's a whole nother conversation. But we are in charge of our reality, our thoughts, our beliefs, what we believe to be true. That is what creates our reality. We are in charge, right? So that is just point blank end of story. But there are so many like gifted intuitive psychics out there, but they are not clearing and protecting themselves. So they end up manifesting like body elements. They're constantly exhausted. They can't control anything. They've got social anxiety. They never want to leave their house. Like, right? It's intuitions, like, and also like psychics. The difference between like what I do and what a psychic is that a lot of times psychics they are reading the current energy and thought field that you are in as opposed to what I do, which is like I'll give you an example of like how I read in a little bit, but I'm actually channeling your higher self. I'm channeling, if I'm looking in on your energy thought field, I'm seeing what is blocking you from whatever it is that you're desiring to create for yourself, and then I'm going straight to your higher self and saying, okay, what are the physical and energetic tools that I need to pull for this person to quantum leap over whatever it is that they're desiring, like whatever obstacles are in their way, and then get whatever it is that they're desiring to create for themselves. So as opposed to like just like typical, so many like intuitive psychics that are naturally very, very, very gifted and do know a lot and also are channeling like somebody could be like, it's just like, okay, I'll give you an example. I had a client who came to me and was like, her ex-husband had like cheated on her and like like left her. He was just terrible, right? And like she comes to me and she's like, will we ever get no, this is what she said. She asked a psychic who, like another psychic before she came to me, who said that like she was going to get back together with this man and that they were going to have another kid together. And then she came to me and she's like, oh, like, well, this is what this person said. And I was like, well, in the energy that you are, like in your current energy, like, yeah, that is because you're in your like very needy energy. And so, like, that is the energy that you're in the energy and the thought process that you're in currently, that will be your reality. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be happy, right? And that doesn't mean that that's what's in your best interest. So then I was able to check in and with her higher self and see like what was actually going on, what she needed to see, what she needed to shift so that she didn't keep on repeating this fucking cycle. Because a lot of times what happens, and this is I am the queen of this, okay? Like a lot of times what happens is that we get put in these fucking cycles, right? And we're just repeating these cycles and we're not learning the lesson. And our higher self is like, oh my God, what the fuck do I need to tell her? What do I need to show her? What more does she need to go through in order to learn this fucking lesson, right? Like she had already gotten cheated on, she had already gotten left, but she still wanted to go back. And higher self is just like, here we go again, right? Like there's so many things that that there's so many different ways that we can channel and make sure that like we are actually giving accurate information. And there are a lot of psychics and gifted intuitives out there that are just simply not reading the accurate way, the best way to get the best possible outcome for the client, right? And it leaves the client feeling like even more anxiety and even less empowered than when they like went to the psychic or went to the intuitive, which when you go to an intuitive medium or when you go to a psychic, like a lot of times, like I remember before I learned this work, before I like honed in on my own gifts, there was like a time where I was just like not well and like having a depressive episode. And like I fucking drove into a psychic shop. She was closed. Didn't get it. That was my higher self's way of being like, no, bitch. But like in that moment, I know that like I was at a very low place in my life. So like I would have taken whatever the fuck she said and been like, this is my destiny. You know what I'm saying? Whereas now and who knows where she was channeling from? Who knows how she was? So that's why it's so important to know where you're channeling from and how to channel to get the best accurate information for yourself and for clients if you decide to create a business like this or yeah, like my business for others. But intuition is like having the answers to all of your problems, but you were never given the instruction manual, right? So you didn't get used to it. You didn't get to use it, and you eventually forgot about it. And just maybe you ended up getting stuck some point in your life, or maybe currently right now, in your victim matrix. And what does that mean? What is a victim matrix? We call this in the spiritual world a victim matrix. So this basically means that everything is happening to you. Everything was me. There's nothing I can do. This is just how it is. This is just life, right? Like you just are helpless and you're just like, whatever, it is what it is. Like it's all in God's hands. There's nothing I could do. My hands are tied behind your back. If that's what you believe to be true, that is your truth. Period. But everything is happening for you, not to you, for you. Nothing is a coincidence. Everything is happening for you. It's everything is happening to get you to that next level in life. And you might not see that as it is. However, there's always a silver lining to everything. And as soon as you can find that silver lining, as soon as you can get neutral about all of the things that have happened to you in your past, the more peace and calm you're going to have in your body, right? The more peace and calm you're going to have in your central nervous system, and the less anxious and depressed and helpless and stuck in your victim matrix you will be, right? We don't want to be in our victim matrix. We want to step the fuck out of that. We're done. So you don't even know the voice in your head also is like fear or if it's intuition. So going into this, intuition is very, and we're going to get into like emotional mastery and how to like know if it's fear versus intuition, but I'll give you kind of like a little snippet. So we're going to do that inside of a weekend, but the difference between fear, like intuition is just matter of fact. Like it's just this knowing, it's very neutral, it's very calm in your body. Whereas fear is like something that you're going to have like a lot of anxiety about, you're going to question a lot. Now, this is why I always, like I mentioned in the beginning, like when we get into the intuitive yes and no answers, towards like pretty soon, we're not asking any big, crazy, life altering questions because we don't want our emotions to get in the way of our answers, right? So we're going to ask things that are just silly and like 100% like we know that yes or we know no. And that way we can kind of get a feeling for where they are. But I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But first of all, I wanted to say like fear and our emotions and like getting wrapped up in the emotion instead of just like knowing like a matter of fact, it is intuition. Intuition, a lot of people like often think that they're using their intuition, but it's actually a decision based on their emotions and that it isn't the best decision for them because they don't even know where they're channeling from. Like they're not even clearing the dark forces, which we'll get into. Don't freak out. Dark forces are literally like they're nothing. We are so much stronger than them and we have so much more power than they do. They're not doing that. And so they don't even know what like who is like telling them to do what. So that is why what I'm teaching inside of Awaken is so fucking powerful because I'm actually teaching you where to channel from, how to cleanse, how to clear, how to protect yourself, and how to get the answers down to a fucking science. But it's so important. So we are able to channel from your source field, your higher self field, angels and guides field, all while knowing the current energy we are giving off by reading our current energy and thought field. So most of the time I just channel from my higher self field and source field. And like if I have any questions or anything that I desire to know, anything that I want to create in my business or in my life, I use intuition to see if it is in my best interest and will it get me to where I desire to be in life, how long it will take. I can actually like channel, okay, like if I do these exact tools and if I do this exact thing, how long is it going to take me to get to my exact goal, right? And I can literally channel that answer for myself. But just use mostly those two because angels and guides, they can be little sneaky sneakies, and they like they don't always give you like the 100% accurate information. And you know that higher self and source are always going to give you the exact information. So angels and guides, like they sometimes just get bored, and they just want to like fuck with you and have fun up there. But that's not what we don't have fucking time for that, right? Okay, so we're straight up channeling from higher self and source. So source actually only like God, source, universe, right? They do not dictate your future. Higher self is the only channel that you can get information about your future from. So anything futuristic, future wise, you want to channel in our higher self field. Anything like just a question, like a matter of fact question, like what is the source definition of self love, right? That would be channeling from source field. And that is the source definition of self love is the ability to put yourself first and prioritize yourself. Okay. So that is like me channeling straight from source. During reads, like I mentioned a little bit before, I look into their current energy field. So we all have a electromagnetic field around us. And what this field does, it projects all of our thoughts, our feelings, and what we believe to be true about ourselves and our life. Okay. I love giving an example of dating. So a couple weeks ago, I was chatting with a girl and a client, and she was like, dating is so hard. Like she's in her 30s. She's like, dating is so hard. Okay, I'm never gonna be able to find my man. Never gonna be able to find my person. Like all the good ones are taken. Like she's just like so in her victim matrix, right? She's so wrapped up in her victim matrix. And I'm like, woman, if that is what you believe to be true, that is what's going to be your truth. And if that is what you keep on repeating and saying out loud, guess what's going to be reflected to you? The world is a giant mirror of our EMF, of what we think, feel, and believe to be true. So if we are constantly stating men are trash, all the good ones are taken, I'm never going to find my person, guess what? It's going to be true. The world is what the universe, the universe has its hands tied behind their back, and it's going to be like, if that's what you believe to be true, then that is going to be your truth. So unfortunately, until you change the way that you think, the way that you feel, and what you believe to be true, the universe cannot give you what you are desiring to create for yourself, right? How we think and what we speak into existence is so important to be aware of. And we'll get into that inside of Awaken as well. So, like, we're going to get into like neuroscience and stuff, but inside of Awaken. But so, what I was saying is like, I look into their current energy field and I would tap into their higher self field and give them the physical and energetic tools to align with whatever they're desiring to create for themselves. So like in I'll use this girl as an example. Like she was desiring to like manifest her dream relationship. And so if that's the case, and I look in on her energy and she's like one super in her needy energy. And if you're in your needy energy, like absolutely you are repelling whatever it is that you're trying to get. Like neediness is a repellent. And so I was like, okay, well, first of all, you're really needy. So like if you like you need to step like outside and neutralize like being in a romantic relationship and like really fall in love with where you're at currently. Okay. And then I was able to channel exact physical and energetic tools straight from her higher self in order for her to get closer to whatever it is that she's desiring, which is manifesting her dream relationship. Okay. So this was a couple weeks ago. So, and I haven't talked to her since. So like don't quote me. I don't know like what not don't quote me, but I don't know what like where she's at or like what's going on and if she's like shifted or done the work. Because if you don't do the work, then the work doesn't work, right? With anything. But so her physical tool was or her energetic tool was to get neutral about like being in a romantic relationship, write the T chart, plus and minuses, write all the plus, all the positives about being in a romantic relationship on the other side, write all the negatives about being in a romantic relationship until you actually don't even want what you're desiring to manifest for yourself anymore. That means like you're super neutral about it, you're calm in your body about it. And then the physical action was to just truly like take herself out on dates, start to treat herself the way that she desired to be treated, right? So, like how you think, feel, and what you believe to be true is creating your reality. So, if you're desiring to attract somebody who appreciates you and puts you first, etc., like you have to do that for yourself as well. And that was something that she wasn't doing. So I gave her the physical action, date herself. Okay. I digress. That was like an example of like me reading a client and how I was able to like help her and shift her energy so that she could be an energetic match for whatever she was for her desired romantic relationship. Another really amazing way that I use my intuition is like anytime that I start to not feel good. So, like if I have a headache, right? Like if I start to get a headache, I'm like, oh my God, okay, what's the emotional root cause of a headache? Okay, the emotional root cause of a headache is being really hard on myself, putting too much pressure on myself. Okay, there's 8 areas of life. What area of my life am I currently putting too much pressure on myself? That is okay. Work, vocation, work and vocation, same thing, excuse me, and relationship. Okay. So these two things, like reflections, which we're also going to be getting inside of Awaken, but they are always showing up in the 2 areas that you value the highest. But anyways, when I'm able to, like, if I do end up getting a headache and then I channel like the 2 specific areas of my life, I'm able to be like, okay, cool, this is what I need to do. I need to shift it. How do I choose to feel instead? Shift out of it, shift out of that emotion. I'm no longer an energetic match for the headache. You do this with getting like feeling a cold or like a lot, like I use this with like if there's like a cold or something going around, right? Everyone around you is sick. You can ask yourself, like, okay, am I an energetic match to, I'll get into how to ask the question, but like essentially, am I an energetic match to be sick or to catch a cold, right? And you can be like, if it's yes, then you can get to the emotional root cause, shift it, and then make sure that you're no longer an energetic match for whatever it is for that cold. And then if it's a no, then like you're good. You don't even have to fucking worry about it. Okay. So I mean, it's just like I hey, like I can totally bring this up, but like it's just like think about the C word, like back in 2020, right? Not that C word, the other the 19 one. I don't want to say it. I don't know. I feel like things happen. Anyways, I digress. But when that was all going around, like there are some people that caught it and there are some people that like went all that time without catching it. Like I was out and about living my life, like going to the beach every day, right? And I never got it until like 2021. But that's because I was a fucking match for it because I wasn't in alignment with like living the life that I desired to live. Anyways, but it's a that's another really amazing way to use your intuition because you can like make sure like am I energetic match, am I not energetic match, etc. But okay, moving on. I have like a list here of what I'm like an outline of what I'm teaching because I am like a squirrel, like I'll be like, "Huh, what?" So another really amazing way that I use my intuition is I use it to manifest my boyfriend. So, I mean, I did the work. I did a lot of like the self-love and self-image work that needed to be done in order to like make myself an energetic match for my dream romantic relationship. I used intuition to be like, okay, like what do I need to do physically and energetically in order to be an energetic match for my desired romantic partner, right? And then I did those things. And then a month later, after like I was truly being intentional with like manifesting my dream relationship, I met my boyfriend and I was actually living in Costa Mesa, which is 2 hours from where I live now, which is where I met my boyfriend. So I had gotten like my little sister was, she's a singer-songwriter. So she was like performing at a bar and she was like, I wanted to surprise her. I was like, I don't know, I feel like I should. It was literally like 2 days before. So I like drove down there, surprised her, watched it, and then that night there was like this random as fuck cornhole tournament. It was just like a bunch of synchronicities, right? So went to watch my little sister perform. I was with my mom and she we ran into these random people who had wristbands on. I was like, "Oh, what are your wristbands for?" And they're like, "Oh, it's a cornhole tournament tonight." And I was like, "That's weird. Like, are you guys big cornhole people?" And they were like, "No, we actually there's live music." My mom was like, "Live music? Like, what's the lineup?" Looks up the lineup, loves the lineup. It's like, "Will you come with me, please?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" Go there, and that's where I met Bryson, which is just so wild. You know, we did long distance for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, or maybe longer, maybe 5 months. I don't know, but that's besides the point. That's where I met him, and then I decided to move back to where I'm originally from, my hometown, Ventura, California. So I'm here. We're together. It's amazing. Love him. Love intuition. Thank you for leading me to him. Anyways, digress. So intuition doesn't always logically make sense, but it never steers you the wrong direction. So keep that in mind. If you ever have like an intuitive pull and you just cannot explain like why and it just doesn't make sense for you to do it, like just fucking do it. Like do yourself a favor and do it because wasn't if I didn't listen to the intuitive pull to remember at the beginning of this when I was talking about like how I found my mentor, on TikTok and like got the intuitive pull, like I need to work with her. If I hadn't listened to that and done whatever the fuck I had to do in order to work with her, then I wouldn't be where I am today, which I'm the happiest and most aligned that I have ever been in my entire life. And I am empowered and I feel the best I ever have. Right. So it's just like intuition and learning this work has truly like been so life changing for me. And I simply want to help others hone in on their intuition, their gifts, so that they can create whatever it is that they're desiring to create because and get out of their victim matrix and become empowered. And that is part of the reason why I created Awaken. So let's get into our yes and no techniques, shall we?
All right, if you are interested in getting those yes and no techniques, if you are wanting to do a little intuitive read for yourself, please check out the show notes below. Make sure you get that recording. Also, at the end of this is all the information about Awaken, what I'm going to be teaching you inside of each week. And I have decided to keep the doors open for Awaken until Sunday, this Sunday, the 21st at 11:59 p.m. The doors will close. So the first drip of content starts tomorrow. That will be in your portal. But if you are already in, I cannot freaking wait to see you inside. And if you haven't gone in yet and you are interested, it's not too late to join. You still got some time. Please DM me if you have any questions at all. My DMs are always open. You can also email the team at info@mikaelaryanfilar.com. I am so looking forward to helping you hone in on your intuition. Who knows what this can do for you? It has literally changed my life, and I just want to help others hone in on their intuition so that they can change their lives as well. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that you liked it. Make sure that you share this with a friend or leave a rating and review if you haven't already for the podcast. It helps my podcast reach all the people that it's meant to, even more incredible souls. And if you know anyone that is super intuitive and you know would absolutely love and benefit from joining Awaken, make sure you send this their way so that they can learn about it. And that is all. I hope you have an incredible week and we'll chat soon.